in the pod with a cast beat on this week's episode of Horror Hole. I'm Wyatt, and who is here with me today, as always?
And I'm Jeremy's Rimmer, Cody Briscoe.
Oh, we're going to talk about him, don't you worry. And we're here today to talk about 28 weeks later. We already did the first one, 28 days later.
Our first sequel.
Yeah, so this is the first time that we're revisiting a movie, or series, rather, I guess if you don't count Terrifier. But, you know, that's the secret 0th episode of the series.
Track it down, it's really good.
About the Terrifier movie. Yeah, it's good times. Good. It's only magic. Anyway, so this, you suggested this. This was your movie that you picked for us to watch. Mm-hmm. I had high hopes because the first one was one of our best movies that we'd watched so far, and this really delivered.
I agree.
That's my first impression, is that I was like excited to see how they would take this story and like escalate it from the original while still maintaining like the identity of the original movie. And I think that they did a fantastic job taking the story in a different direction, telling a different type of story within the same world, but still maintaining like what was great about the original. So that is my first impression. How about you?
It definitely feels like a blockbuster version of the first movie. I don't mean the video rental store. I mean like a blockbuster movie.
Sure.
It still does feel true to the identity of the original. I think I still prefer the first movie. I understand that there are people that prefer this one because it is a really good action movie as well.
Yes, it's very similar to the Alien and the Aliens divide that some. And I would say I like the more slower paced, character driven stuff in the first movie, but that is not to say that this movie doesn't deliver in other areas.
This one has, whereas the first movie, like you said, more character based, and it's kind of just you're just hanging out with these people and put in different situations. This one has a very well constructed plot and pacing and like escalation, and I think that's one of its strongest suits. Is just like how the events play out. It's very, very engaging.
Yeah, so I don't know how you want to go about, if you just want to go and like talk through it chronologically.
I do think this is one, because so much happens in this fucking movie where we do kind of not every single scene, but we are just going to go in order.
Yeah, I think that's fair, especially because like the opening scene is like very shocking and like, you know, like, oh my god, this movie just opened up in like a crazy way, like even more so than the original.
Yeah, this movie's opening is I don't want to say, because the third movie isn't even out yet, but like the opening scene of this movie is probably my favorite sequence in either movie. I think it is so it's so like bleak, and it feels in spirit with the original. It has that iconic song playing. My note for this scene, I wrote, this is show stopping. It's as just a standout sequence, one of the best horror opening sequences, at least of the 2000s for sure.
Yeah, and it should be noted that this movie has about double the budget of the original, which makes sense just because of a lot of the like camera work and equipment and things that they needed to get for the movie. I mean, they had like a helicopter and stuff. And
oh god, we'll get to that helicopter.
yeah, don't worry. I just think that it's funny now looking at the most recent one, and it's like 10 times the budget of
Jesus,
the original. Like the 28 years later is like $70 million or whatever. It's like a ridiculous amount of money that they're spending on that. I guess it's just like, you know, I don't know. I feel like we can talk all day about movie budgets inflating and whether or not it's necessary, but what are you gonna do?
I mean, the premise of that movie seems very, very high scale and grand. So I see it why they went that route. This is, I guess, a little bit of a tangent. My one thing with the upcoming trilogy, that it's not giving me pause or anything, but the first two movies have a really uh consistent aesthetic of like film grain, or not film grain, like digital video artifacts, and
Yeah.
like
Hmm. Hmm.
even this movie, even though it's filmed like a lot sleeker, they still use like digital cameras. There's a lot of stuff from like a sniper's POV, like night vision and stuff.
Yeah.
And the new movie looks very, very big and cinematic. I could be completely wrong. The trailers could be misleading, but it seems like
Hmm.
that kind of aspect, like that
They kind of
grittiness.
sanded off.
Yeah, that
Yeah, they sanded
grittiness is
off
a
the
little bit.
edges. Because I agree with you that I think that the ways that these movies look, including this one that we're talking about, like even though it's a more sophisticated movie, it still maintains like this like kind of low key
Mhm.
style to it, and it is able to like do a lot more. It's a little bit more innovative and versatile with all of its filmmaking stuff.
Yeah.
You get a lot of like really interesting shots and like again camera work
Or
stuff shot through like sniper
mhm.
lenses, stuff shot through like night vision.
There are
Um,
shots that are like kind of have predicted the GoPro a little bit, where they will just like strap a
mm,
camera to
mm,
somebody and it's very chaotic, and but the camera is like
yeah,
perfectly parallel with the subject, like pre GoPro
yeah.
shot. This is like, before that those cameras even existed.
Yeah, and that beginning of the movie is super chaotic. It is just like, holy fuck, you're so overwhelmed to the point where, like, I found it hard to blame Don for doing what he did, even as horrible as it is. Like, and then of course, like the consequences for that are pretty dire for what he did. But
Like you can
yeah,
see like that moment where he's standing in the door, like you go back to, he talks about, thank God our kids are safe. Like
mm,
they do still have two other children. Uh, so I understand like that in that moment he was like thought of their well being
I have to
rather than,
live for them.
yeah.
Like, yeah, I like it's self preservation. He like abandons his wife and everything, and then yeah, and just presumes that she's dead. And he's like the only one out of like that entire group of people that were living in that cottage that make it out. I will say this movie is really cool in the sense that there's like here's me being an uncultured swine, but I'm going to bring up video games. There's like multiple things or set pieces in like horror games that I have played or know of that I was like, oh, maybe this, like they're referencing this and that. I think the main thing is the idea of there being like a child that has an immunity to the virus.
Oh
Like
yeah,
obviously it's through
like
the
Last of
mother.
Us. Mhm.
Yeah, Last of Us is like immediately what comes to mind with Ellie. And I wonder if it was inspired. I know that Neil Druckmann, who is the director of that game, was more inspired by The Road, the Cormac McCarthy novel.
Mhm.
Um, but I do wonder if this like worked its way in there. Like I had
Yeah.
seen that
Well, I
movie and
mean,
like wanted to put it.
anything's possible. I mean, like we said in the last episode, Walking Dead completely stole
Sure.
the opening scene of the first movie. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, so we get this incredible opening, and then through text, it kind of like, I really liked how they did the title card, where it was like 28
Yeah.
days later, London has been quarantined off. We're basically told very briefly about how the infected don't have a long lifespan; they die after like 5 weeks or something. And
Hmm.
then like a certain area, the Isle of Dogs or something, I believe,
Yeah. Yeah.
has been declared
Hmm.
safe, but mainland London is still like quarantined off, and the American
Yeah.
military has like set up a presence there to like to help reintegrate people into the country.
Hmm.
And then
And that's immediately unnerving to have like the lady like in the tram like explaining like there's going to be an increased military presence, and you're just like really stressed out because I mean probably from the previous movie you had the military
Mhm.
bunker of people that were
All gone
not,
insane.
yeah, that like had gone insane. So it's just like, and you begin the movie with like kind of like the main one of the US military guys played by Jeremy Renner, who we've talked about, in the intro, or
Yeah,
joked about
I
Doyle.
yeah.
Uh,
We'll
yeah, go ahead.
we'll get to him. I love. I don't know. Love is the right word, but I was very tickled by the before Andy and Tamara arrive. There's like aerial shots, and we
Hmm.
can hear like the military, like random characters talking to each other, and their dialogue is so like, oh fuck, give me something to shoot. They're like it's so
Yeah,
like uh base and like it feels like when
yeah,
it
yeah,
feels like when you're watching like a Godzilla movie and the American military is in it. You know what I mean?
yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. Where it's like, it makes me think back to Jacob's Ladder, where that had like also a scene with the American military at the beginning, and they're like joking around, but it was like it was all improvised. It felt very natural. Whereas like, yeah, this is just like, all right, kind of generic, like, oh man, we get stuck here instead of having action. It's like the fucking Transformers movie or something. Which we which we've also talked about all of those movies, by the
Yeah.
way. So going
What?
over again, It's Only Magic.
Oh, that fucking dude! I can't remember the character. Josh Duhamel, like that
Mm-hmm.
the one reoccurring military guy. Like he would be the Jeremy Renner character as like
Yeah.
the one who has like a little bit of depth and character to him. I actually
Mm-hmm.
I have never had an opinion on Jeremy Renner because I've never really seen
Sure.
him in anything. I like him in this movie. I liked him as his
I
character.
I did too. I think that he did a good job being. I think in general they did a good job portraying the U.S. military neutrally instead of doing it either like as heroes or as pure villains.
Yeah,
Because like clearly there is kind of like a fucked up power dynamic with the idea that they're like, all right, U.S. military is locking down this country and like, all of like it's under martial law and whatever. So
very
these people
timely
have like a certain,
of what was
yeah.
happening.
And but once things start going sideways and they're like, oh, it's code red, and they're sort of given the okay to kill, everybody sort of just
So
does that.
it's so upsetting. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
really
And again,
upsetting
we'll
scene.
we'll
We'll
we'll,
get to it.
we'll get more into that, as we go through the movie. But like, yeah, he's like kind of forced into opposing that, not out of not entirely out of like moral obligation, but just out of like necessity and needing to help these people, and then eventually like learning about the idea of the children having immunity to the virus. So yeah, I think in that way, like they did a good job like positioning him as that. So you like, I really only know Jeremy Renner from fucking
The Avengers.
uh yeah, from the Avengers and from his app.
Mhm.
Like, do you know about his
Yes,
like weird
yes, I
mobile
do.
app?
It's
Okay.
I you know how like people would pay to buy a used Xbox that had the Scott Pilgrim game still installed on it?
Yeah.
Ever since that Jeremy Renner app got taken off the marketplace, I've been hunting for a used phone that has it installed.
For $20,000.
Name your price.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man. But yeah,
So
and I know that he still has a maybe an inflated sense of self to this day, but
did
that's
you
not
see
indicative of his character in this movie though.
did you see the recent quote from him about the second season of the Hawkeye show?
Oh yeah, where they wanted to like pay him
Yeah.
like half
Mhm.
of his for coming on, and he was like, I didn't become a half of Jeremy Renner.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that is right. Like,
Because
even
they got
if
ran
you
over.
don't like, yeah, like even if you don't like him or whatever, or find him like a cocky guy, it's like, fuck you. Like,
That's
how
still a
dare you try?
character he's been playing for longer than they've owned that brand.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Anyway, so the safe zone is they say there's 15,000 people living there, so which is a
Mm,
decent amount. Andy and his sister they use the term repatriation, which I'd never heard the
mm,
term before. I guess yeah, that makes sense. Um,
Mm.
it's set up that Andy has a heterochromia, like a Siberian husky, where one eye is kind of weird
Mm-hmm.
versus the other one. And he says, "Yeah, I got that from my mom." And then we get,
Mm-hmm.
uh, one of the most important scenes in the movie after Don is reunited with his kids. They ask, "Hey, so what happened to mom?" And
Mm-hmm.
Don makes the very wise decision to lie to his kids. He,
Yeah.
but again, I really like all of the characters in this movie because again, like Don, he did do like a really shitty thing, but it is like you can understand why he did it, and
Mm-hmm.
like what he's telling his kids is like slimy. It's it's probably the best way he possibly could put what happened, you know?
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Like the only problem is when like the truth comes to bite him in the ass and there's like the holes in the logic of his story.
Yeah,
It's like he went into too much detail about what happened and filled in some blanks to cover his ass when otherwise he could have left it more vague, but wanted to like not come out of it with
like
the idea that I left your mother for dead, you know, like he didn't want to come out and say that. So
what he sees her get yanked to the side in a window. Like it's it's fair for him to assume that there was no way he was ever going to see her again.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I think like as fucked up as what he did was, he had no reason to believe that his wife would survive at all. Even if she magically had some immunity to it, it's like very surprising that she was able to like survive that encounter just because, you know,
It
it
affected
was
her
like
so
a
fucking
violent.
violent.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, I have a few questions with how the infected are handled in this movie, but we'll get to that later.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, there's another really it's kind of an inconsequential scene, but I like the way it was shot. So just the scene with the snipers doing like night duty and they're like watching different apartments on this one
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
skyscraper, and you just get to see like a bunch of different characters and what they're up to, like little
Yeah.
doll houses. Like it I know I wrote it down because it reminded me of. Have you ever seen
Mm-hmm.
the Reno
Mm-hmm.
911 movie?
I have not. No.
There's a scene where they're all staying in a hotel, like a shitty two-story motel, and one of the characters is walking by each window, and each window he walks by is like a progressively more disgusting sex act that a different member of the cast is doing, and he's running from like both stories, like oh god, oh for like at
Mm-hmm.
each window he passes. Uh,
Yeah.
we should talk about that. Uh,
Yeah. Well, that's a horror movie, right?
Reno 911 Miami.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anyway, so the kids decide to sneak out of the safe zone, and let's see. Oh, so they find a scooter. This scene was gross, and it it was one of those ones where it's like, okay, girl, you would not be in this building right now. You would have fucking left. She's like trying to steal the keys to the scooter off of a corpse, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like there are dead bodies in there, and the food is rotten. Like I wouldn't want the
Yeah.
keys that bad, you know. We're walking. So.
No, absolutely. I would be like, oh god, this isn't even kind of worth it. They're already like breaking rules to be there, so maybe there is like that, like, well, we might as well commit energy. But I think I just have such a revulsion to like dead things that I wouldn't even open a door if I thought something was disgusting on the other side. You know.
Thoughts on Andy and Tamara? Because I mean, this movie is like I would say more of an ensemble movie than the first one, but like these two would, they would be the main characters.
Yeah. So I was interested because the movie started with Don, so like I expected sort of like him or at least all three of them to be like main characters of the movie. So it was very very shocking when that is not the case, and but then I started to like put it together. Like, wait, why would they introduce that the mom was immune to the virus and still alive, and then she just dies like a couple scenes later? And then I realized what was happening. and like the confluence of events that ended up leading with like Scarlet, the medical officer who checked Andy's eyes and noticed the heterochromia, and then also noticed it on the mother, and then was able to put two and two together to be like, oh, this is the son. Maybe he has the same immunity that uh, this lady had.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just like function in the plot. That's not talking about the characters. I'm just saying that. Yeah. But them as people, like, yeah, I think that they're like a convincing, brother sister duo. I was like very invested in what was going on with them. It reminded me of like the father and daughter from the previous movie, where like, you just kind of want to, you just kind of enjoy the fact that people like have some kind of like nuclear family left and are united under like such traumatic circumstances, because that's like not the case for everybody.
Yeah.
um and yeah, you're just sort of also like, because we definitely know by the end that Andy has immunity to it, but you're not sure if Tammy also has it. So
we never find out.
like, yeah, and we're just like, so you're just stressed out, like, okay, like she's in way more danger than he is, because like, yeah, maybe he'll get like injured or bleed, like, have like a grievous injury if he gets like bitten or attacked, but he won't turn. So like it leads to like a nice stressful situation where like the person who is protecting, it is very similar to Last of Us, where like the person protecting the child is actually in way more danger than the child. So
yeah, I want to shout out the actors, Imogen Gay Poots and Macintosh Muggleton.
Those are some interesting names for British people. So
they both do a really good job. One scene that I'm pretty sure I remember reading was like real reactions was when the outbreak first starts and they're locked in like the quarantine room with the glass in front of them, and one guard comes in and says, "I'll be back in a minute," and then in that brief amount of time he's been infected, comes running back in and slamming against the glass. Like their reactions, like they didn't tell them like when it was going to happen. So
yeah.
so they were like, they're jumping back and she's like holding on to him. Yeah, horror movie, like there needs to be more horror movies with like that dynamic, because it's always a banger. Tommy Jarvis and his older sister in Friday the 13th, of course.
Yeah.
Sienna and Jonathan. It's just a good like a good foundation for horror movies.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that like there needs to be something worth losing, for it to feel more impactful, the danger that they're stepping into. And that's, like, obviously that can be done with like a loved one or friends or anything like that, but like there's something about like a sibling relationship, especially if it's like an older and younger sibling and one is like a surrogate guardian to the other, that is like especially like traumatic and intimate, because the person who's the guardian is in that position, but they're not actually an adult. They are still a child that has to pretend to be not afraid purely for this, security of their younger sibling. And that, like, again, that like heightens the tension even more, especially if you're an adult watching the movie. So
another really good scene. Yeah, so they've snuck it out. They go back to their old house, which is really cute, because they say it's to get a picture for Andy, but they also like, oh, all of our old shit is here, so let's take a bunch of our stuff. Yeah, they find the mom. The military had been following them because Doyle spotted them sneaking out.
Yeah.
And this is where it's set up earlier that the kids called Don like the caretaker to this big facility, but he says that he runs the place because he has a key card that gives him access to everywhere. So Don finds out that his wife is alive, like before all of the like protocols are established. So he's able to sneak in, and they have their conversation. Very well. He kisses her and then starts to turn into an infected. It's like it is so rough, and you
yeah.
Alice's death was really extreme and mean. That's one thing I've noted. This movie for sure is meaner than the first one, I would say.
Yeah, I think because there's a higher body count. There's more people that die in it because there's more people in general involved in the movie, and like they do a good job because the before it felt like it was all left to implication, like they couldn't show for the most part how brutally violent the infected were just because the cast was so small. But now they can like, okay, we have a bigger cast, we have more
Yeah.
disposable characters, so let's just show them getting horrifically maimed.
Mhm.
So yeah, very impactful to be again two characters that I assumed, like one that I was shocked to see alive still, and then even more shocked to see her die so quickly after that, and just in like a brutally horrific way.
That
Just
seems to
like
be
getting her like face smashed and like eyes like popped and everything. Like,
the infected
goddamn.
seem to have a thing for doing that, putting the thumbs in against. It's a really
Yeah.
it's
I
hits you every time.
yeah, it's fucked up. I think it's one. I think it's just the filmmakers being like, that's extremely scary. You know, that's just like fucked up to see. And two, like they have like projectile vomit, and they have like all this stuff. The ways that they can get the virus can get into somebody's body is through things like the eyes and the mouth and nose and whatever. Like those contact points that you would, you saw in the first movie with the dad gets a drop of blood into his eye and then it's all over from there. Um,
And
so like it might have something to do with that, even though it's like, well, you can't infect them if you kill them. So it might just be
mm,
a thing where like the virus, the way that it controls the mind, is like just doing that, going for it, and maybe some people will die, maybe some people will survive it, but it's just like, and it's more effective than anything. So
yeah,
you know,
another shout out for sure to his
mm,
performance as he's like turning into the infected Dawn is really
mm-hmm.
really good. Uh,
Yeah,
on the topic of infected Dawn, that's probably one of the only kind of give it a down point for the movie for me
sure,
is just I don't hate the idea of Don as an infected like trying to stalk his kids, but I think the way it's executed it raises questions about like the capabilities of the infected. Like he literally does the '90s movie thing where he's standing across the street and like a bus drives by or something and he's gone.
yeah.
Like
It's very. It reminds us of what we were talking about last episode with It Follows, where it's like, so at some points it is just the stalker enemy that's like coming towards you, and then sometimes it has like intent, or it understands like, oh, if I a straightforward attack plan isn't good. Sometimes I need to like go around or like throw things or do whatever,
yeah.
and that in that it's like more of a mystery. I mean, you just don't even know what the fuck that thing is, so it's just like completely scary.
Yeah.
Whereas like, yeah, this I was a little confused because I was starting to think maybe like he is slightly immune, like maybe not to the extent that his wife is,
Hmm.
but that might be, it might have just, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
or maybe like a weaker version of the virus because it was incubating inside of somebody who was immune to it, so he still had some level of control. But the fact that he like killed her immediately, I was like, oh, okay, so he's completely insane. But the fact that like he kept like on showing up,
Hmm.
and every time I was like, okay, he's gonna die or whatever, like, and
And
he's just like a lost cause. But in the climax, he's still around and like attacks
yeah,
them in the subway.
he manages to survive all of the island being carpet bombed. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So
Yeah, but I do want to mention before we move off of him and Robert Carlyle immediately. As soon as he spoke, I was like, "That's a Glasgow man. I know it." And then I went to his Wikipedia page, and lo and behold,
as soon as I saw him, I was like, that's one of the members of the Volturi from Twilight movies.
okay,
watch
Maybe we
those.
should do those. Did those count as horror movies? I don't know.
Um,
Um,
Vampires kill people in it. I mean, I guess.
yeah, you know what? Vampire movies were horror movies at one point.
Yeah.
That's more of a YA gothic fantasy, I guess, kind of movie,
Hmm.
or modern urban fantasy. I don't know how to describe it. It's not really horror, but at some point we should watch the Twilight movies. You're right.
Yeah.
So just saying.
Well, speaking of disasters, all hell has broken loose in the safe zone. The
Hmm.
civilians are ushered into these really scary underground bunkers, just packed in
Hmm.
there. Um, Scarlet is trying to take the kids out. The Andy gets separated from them just because it's like a Black Friday sale. Um,
Yeah.
let's see. The snipers are trying to shoot just the infected that are chasing people on the ground, and it very quickly dawns on you like, oh God, there's no way to differentiate them.
Hmm.
Uh,
Mm.
so I haven't even mentioned Idris Elba is in this movie as like
Yeah.
the biggest, like the head in the chain of command. I don't know the character's name, but
Sure.
he tells them to abandon selective targeting and just like they've lost control, just fucking shoot everyone, and it's
Yeah.
it's 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 really fucking bleak and dark.
Yeah. Especially because already it was so chaotic that you're like you couldn't tell if they were killing infected or just normal people.
Yeah,
And then when it becomes like, okay, they're just killing everybody completely indiscriminately, like that becomes a lot more stressful. Also happens like right as Andy is like emerged to the surface and everything.
yeah.
So it's like, yeah,
Um,
very stressful.
there's a
Um,
moment that got me choked up. I didn't full cry like Jacob's Ladder did, but I got choked up. It was when um, it's just Tamara and Scarlet, like they're in the bunker, and she's like, "We have to find Andy. We have to find him." And her like voice is breaking. It got me.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, there was a couple. It didn't like you said. It didn't make me feel like there was some scenes in the first movie where I was like really emotional, and there was like some really sweet moments between the brother and sister, but otherwise like I was more. It was more exciting and thrilling, and everything than it was like very emotional. I mean, anytime that they played in a house
Yeah,
with a heartbeat is like super fucking good
yeah. You
because
just
it's just
know it.
such a good song. And then they have other like songs that I'm like, oh, this is iconic too. Later on, I will say it is pretty funny that we have like, oh, Idris Elba and Jeremy Renner and stuff like that in this like. I mean, it is distributed by 20th Century Fox, but I'm pretty sure it is like outside of the Hollywood system.
Yeah.
Um, and apparently they established at some point, like a few years before this movie came out, a different distribution label called Fox Atomic. Which, when I saw that in like the
Hmm.
logos at the beginning, I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And then
Oh,
looked it up and learned that it's like, oh, they released like 8 movies under the Fox Atomic, and the only like notable ones that like anybody would probably know off the top of their head are 28 Weeks Later and The Hills Have Eyes 2. So
it's I could be wrong, but I it might be a different company. But it might also be Fox Atomic. I remember a studio made like in the early 2000s a little sub studio, and just to make like shitty sequels to movies that didn't like need sequels. Like they made like Deep Blue Sea 2, um,
mhm.
and like I think they might have even made the third Deep Blue Sea movie.
Sure,
um,
right.
uh, but
And Deep Blue Sea 4, they just
I
kept going.
I only know this because I was listening to a different YouTuber's video essay about that first Deep Blue Sea movie.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
as
so
far as I'm aware that it's not Fox Atomic, just because like I looked at the list and only like the only 2 sequels I saw were this and Hills Have Eyes 2,
yes.
which I don't know anything about. I don't know if anybody on Earth watched that movie, honestly, but you know,
You want to know how sad it is? Because me and you have watched the first Hills Have Eyes
yeah,
remake, and
hmm
that movie's really good. I've never
yeah,
watched
yeah,
that. I've never fucking watched that sequel.
yeah.
I couldn't tell you
Maybe
shit
we'll
about
do
it.
it for the. Maybe we'll do it at someday. when we get around to it. But there you
Anyway,
go.
oh, it was Warner Brothers that did the Deep Blue Sea sequels. Anyway,
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
so after receiving that order, Doyle like still tries to just shoot infected. It's we have no way of knowing if he was hitting people or not. But he abandons his post. And the kids are able to reunite because a guy is like shouting at Andy to come take shelter in this like store or whatever the fuck. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Doyle finds them and decides that he's going to lead like this group of like starts out probably 8 people. Uh, gonna lead them out of the city because the place is gonna be carpet bombed. And this section of the movie for sure felt like a video game. There was like different little missions. Like they have
Mm-hmm.
to they start running, and then one of them gets shot from a sniper because they think they're infected.
Yeah.
Uh, and then they're cornered by another sniper, and they need somebody to be bait. And fucking Andy bolts out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. And he even tells him like run in a zigzag. Like he tells a different guy to like run in a zigzag pattern, which is like actual advice for dodging snipers. Like yeah, Andy like runs out, which is again like very stressful because you're like, what are you doing? Like not just because he's a character that you know, but again his blood could be like very helpful in like stopping or quelling the virus in any way. So if he just dies right there, like what the hell is all this for?
yeah, it's a good Doyle like killed an infected that Andy had no way of knowing this, but Doyle killed an infected that was coming after Andy in the big slaughter scene. So it's like both characters had done something to aid the other one, and it kind
Mm.
of builds like there is a little bond between like the core four of this party with Scarlet and Andy and the
Mm.
let's see. Okay, yeah, so the place gets carpet bombed, and it's another really standout sequence. Just probably goes on for 2 minutes. Just watching this
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
fireball chase after everything in the city, and we see a bunch of different locations we've been already just get decimated. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
let's see. There's a really weird scene where Idris Elba is looking kind of in the camera right after the carpet bombing, and there's like a Star Wars esque like wide
Yes,
transition.
that I was gonna say like when we were talking about like camera work earlier, I was gonna mention like that really stood out to me as far as like an interesting camera move
Yeah,
that they do where it's like it's a very classic like not even it's like yeah like a white from like right in the frame to left it's like very slow. It feels like classic filmmaking rather than like a more modern sleek impactful kind of editing. But to me like that leaves more of an impression, just like those interesting camera or editing moves. So
cannot wait. I mentioned earlier, just kind of cautious about how this that's going to like it's digital video aesthetic of the movies.
mm,
I have no doubt that it's going to be incredibly well directed. Let me say that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm very
Hmm.
hopeful that that will be the case.
Speaking of well directed, so the group it's kind of whittled down to the core four and this extra guy. He's the one who was yelling at Andy to come into the building. I don't think his name. I don't even
Mm-hmm.
think he says his name actually. Um, so they're rendezvousing with a guy Flynn, who is a helicopter pilot that Doyle is, and he
Mm-hmm.
like refuses to take them with them. And this scene, the end result is very cool, but the start of it is kind of insane. That guy
Mm-hmm.
jumps onto the ski of the helicopter, and
Yeah,
Flynn is like trying to shake him off with
yeah,
the
and
helicopter.
I'm very scared because I know how incredibly dangerous it is to like operate a helicopter
Uh,
like in that kind of precarious way. Like just how easy it is to have an accident with a helicopter is like, you know, that's it's just very stressful to see. So I was like, oh god, it can blow up and then metal shrapnel is gonna go flying everywhere and like kill everybody.
well, it does essentially because there's a horde of infected that are coming towards our
Mm.
characters, and Flynn like not nosedives, but he like tilts the helicopter float forward and uses it like a fucking lawnmower over a whole crowd of
Yeah,
them.
which is
It's so sick.
badass.
Yeah,
So
it's really cool.
yeah.
That's the difference. Like a scene like that could not have exist in that first movie. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like like
Yeah,
like
for
that
sure.
like that first movie's equivalent is like here's a goofy little twee scene where we're all having fun in an empty shopping center.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's what I was talking about where I'm like you could definitely see that they got double the budget in this because they probably had to hire like professional uh, you know,
Yeah, I would love to
helicopter
see how that
stuff.
stuff is done.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some element of CG and, like in a studio, whatever that they're doing it, but uh, it's either way, like just getting the item itself was probably very expensive. And then, like, yeah, just they're directing like a big action set piece with like these bodies just like exploding into blood. Uh, it's also very satisfying on like a base viewer level.
Yeah, it's
Um,
very what was it called? Uh, Dead Alive, maybe. It's a Peter Jackson
yeah,
horror
yeah.
movie
Hmm.
where a guy kills a horde of zombies with a lawnmower. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're separated from him, and he tells them, where he's gonna meet up with them at the stadium. So they have to get there, and while they're navigating through the city, they start using chemical weapons, and they're trying to evade the gas.
Mm.
They're trapped in a car, and the only way to get it started is for poor Doyle to get out and have to push the car while she's starting it. And doing this costs him his
Yeah.
life because he is torched
Hmm.
by I don't know what you would call it, a squad, I guess, with like gas
Yeah, yeah,
masks.
with flamethrowers.
It's
Um,
brutal. It's
yeah.
damn.
I was just thinking about like how like it probably would not have helped to like get down and you know, do the rolling to try to get rid of the fire because that was just intensely painful and probably almost immediately lethal. So,
Uh, yeah, so they're and it doesn't improve because they're just trying to drive away and they're getting shot at by a fucking helicopter while trying to avoid the
yeah.
gas. They end up in like this like not the sewer the subway tunnels, uh,
Yeah.
and then we get another high like great scene that I think
Mhm.
Cloverfield might have stolen a little bit, where Scarlett's trying to navigate Andy and Tamra by looking through her night vision lens. The two kids
Right.
can't see shit, and they're trying to go down like an escalator that's littered with dead bodies. It's
Yeah,
it's
that's very similar to The Stand. Like there's a scene
oh yeah, you're
similarly
right.
where they're going
Hmm.
through like subway tunnels in New York and
Hmm.
like stepping on corpses and things like that. So,
The night vision continues as Scarlett gets killed by Dawn. We see like the POV as the gun is like he's beating her with the butt of the gun. I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Although when we go back to later see her face is fine. Uh,
Yeah, like that's the thing is that they probably like it didn't have like the gore effects on some level were like really good with the like the exploding people with the helicopter, but there's some example and like people being like shot, like the
oh,
the Gibbs exploding
there's one
and
part
everything.
during the mass slaughter where a guy's fucking arm gets blown off.
Yeah, like stuff like that is great, but they might not have had the budget or the desire really to do something as intense as like what we saw with Midsummer, where you really see the people's heads get fucking caved in, and look really like gory and disgusting and everything. So
So Don is able to bite Andy, and we learn that he is immune. He tries to
mhm.
well first Tam kills Don with Scarlet's gun. Great, really intense scene. Imogen Poots
Mhm.
does great
Mhm.
at just how upset she is to be doing this. Uh,
Yeah.
she chases after Andy, and he's immune. Uh, they go back. They go to the stadium, and they're the only ones left. They rendezvous with Flynn. They get into his helicopter, and there's a great sequence where they're flying over like just this decimated island. Of
Hmm.
course, the song is playing. I counted. I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure the
Hmm.
first movie only plays that theme once, and I think this movie plays it
Yeah.
4 times. Which,
Yes,
but I'm
four that I could think of off the top of my head.
I'm
So
not.
like,
It's not a
if it
complaint.
plays any other times, then I don't know. But yeah, it only plays during like that final climactic scene, uh, like where he's going in and like killing, like taking out people and
Yeah,
going in and
his
doing all that.
rampage.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, so they're flown over the English Channel, and then the next thing we see is Flynn's abandoned helicopter, and a brief shot of some infected as they're running towards the Eiffel Tower. Uh,
yeah.
I don't. We'll touch on our thoughts on the ending, but I don't think this is going to be important to 28 years later, as far as I know, because I'm pretty sure the premise of that one is that the whole world except for the UK is completely disease free and that that country has just been quarantined for 28 years.
Yeah. I think it's possible that it will be important to it, but it's also entirely possible that it's just like, look, it's been almost 20 years since the fucking movie came. It was 2007 when this movie came out. So the third movie is like, yeah. So it's like, it's a long, long, long time since then. So it feels like,
And the infected don't live long.
um, yeah, yeah. Well, it's 28 years later, obviously, but like, guess what I'm saying is on a meta level, I could easily see them being like, who cares, and just coming up with a plot that they think would work better for that type of movie than one that like is strictly adherent to continuity. And that idea, like they could, not saying that they won't acknowledge it, but I could see them sort of being like, oh, and then it was suppressed easily, and
I
then whatever,
I
like,
I want at least a throwaway line of dialogue from someone that confirms the fate of Andy and Tamra, because
sure.
I would like a little bit of closure on them, because I mean I know Jim is coming back, and
Hmm.
I don't think the first one. I think he's going to be in the second or third one.
Okay.
But as far as I know, I don't think Macintosh Muggleton acts anymore. He might.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
he doesn't have a Wikipedia page, so
and
you know.
Imogen Poots, I'm pretty sure focuses on music. Uh,
Hmm.
but you never know. Anything's possible.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's like, I think that it's a very evocative and scary ending to have it. It's like very, very different from the first movie, which ended with like such a sense of like hope.
Optimism.
Uh, yeah, it was like way more optimistic. They were able to like make it out. And like in general, I do find myself being like, okay, this was like a very like a great sequel, but it unfortunately like had to compete with one of our favorite movies that we've ever talked about. And that movie, in my opinion, is just does so much more with so much less. That even if they are quite different movies, and I can see one person liking one more than the other, it's just the first one had more of a profound effect on me as like a moviegoer than this one, where I was just like, oh, that's cool. Like I was engaged and I was wrapped up in the story and everything, but that one
Yeah,
really moved me. So
completely agree. Um,
so yeah, I would still obviously recommend this one, and I am very curious to see how the next movie handles it. But yeah,
well, let me ask you this: what are we watching next week?
all right. I thought about this, and this counts as a horror movie, and it's mostly because one, I've never seen this movie, and two, I really want to watch Silence of the Lambs at some point. So Manhunters
Oh, bitch.
is
Okay.
the my choice. So, which is the original, like the first adaptation
Yeah.
of Red Dragon.
Mhm.
Eventually they would do one with Anthony Hopkins after Silence of the
That's the
Lambs and
one with
Hannibal.
Brian Cox, right?
Yes.
Awesome. I've never seen
So
it either. I
yeah, I've
I
always wanted to check it out as a fan of the book and as a fan of Silence of the Lambs and everything. and not a fan. I don't really like Hannibal, and I don't like the movie Hannibal, not the show.
Yeah.
I actually do love. I love that show actually, but.
Did you ever watch any of the Clarice Starling spinoff that came out?
No, I did not.
It was.
I think I was like interested in it, and like you mentioned it, like, oh, you should check this out at some point. But yeah,
It was okay, but also there were scenes where I'm watching it and I was like, "Is this a joke?" Like it,
mm-hmm,
it
mm-hmm.
like if you tell somebody they did uh Clarice Starling sequel spin-off series where she's recovered from the trauma of the first movie, everything that you picture in your head, they do in the show.
Yeah. She like goes to a lamb farm.
They like she. We're done talking about 28 Weeks Later. But
I know. That's
so
funny.
she like we get like updates with like the governor and her daughter and shit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Let's see. There's like she has recurring nightmares of Buffalo Bill, and they couldn't get the same actor
Yep.
back, so it's like you never see his face, but there's like you hear like somebody doing a Buffalo Bill impression.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Is there the impression of that guy? What's the name of that fucking movie that we watched with the washing machine? Where
Oh,
Buffalo Bill is the main character?
the Mangler.
Yes. Oh, that movie's so
good.
good.
Mhm. It's a classic.
What a yeah.
Uh, well,
Good stuff. But yeah, so there you go. Manhunter, that's the next movie that we're checking out. Cody, where can we find you on this wide, wide internet?
you can find me here on my YouTube channel. You can find me on Twitter. It's Gabe Boomhauer. I have a letterbox. My name on there is Discody. It's Discody. And you can also find the acting projects that I've done myself on my IMDb page. Again, just look up my name, IMDb, it should pop up. And
All right, and about me, you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Wasp Ranger, WAZP Ranger. It's mostly stream of consciousness stuff, but I post about podcasts I'm in or videos I'm doing. If you're at all interested in my cartoon content, then go check out my channel, It's Only Magic. If you want to check out the podcast that I do with our friend Morgan, which is Cartoon Buffoons. Cody's been on there once. He'll probably be on here again for if we ever do like CN Rio or some
What was
shit
it?
like
wasn't it like the Kid Ghostbusters show?
yeah, it's like The Outsiders is the name of that show. So whenever we get around to that, I'll make sure to call you up and then we'll talk about that.
I'm gonna watch every episode.
Great amount of I'm sure there's like 6 episodes because that is a very short-lived. So, but yeah, so check that out. $3, you get episodes a week early. So donate if you can. But thank you all for listening. Join us next time. We'll talk about Manhunter. See you there.
Peace out.